This episode's brought to you by The Public Domain Shop, a clothing brand inspired by classic literature and film. Use the code Wolff to get 10% off your next sweatshirt purchase. I was not a fan of Barbarian. So I initially wanted to skip Weapons because it's from the same director, but the premise and the cast sounded so good, I decided to go in blind and hope for the best. And I gotta tell you, I may have gotten the best movie I've seen so far this year. Weapons takes place a month after 17 kids from the same class leave their homes one night and disappear into the darkness, as we see how it affects their teacher, one of the parents, and various townspeople as they try to discover who or what is responsible. My best way of describing Weapons is its story, characters, and mythos feels like a great Stephen King novel. In fact, the plot is told in non-linear chapters from the point of view of each main character that takes its time showing their daily lives before they're crucial to the mystery, so we can get a quick sense of who they are as people, what are their flaws, and why the case matters to them. Previous scenes are retold from their angle without replaying the entire scene. They wisely trim out all the fat and get right to the point. And as soon as a twist is introduced that starts to unravel what's going on, it'll cut away to the next chapter, and at first, because it was getting interesting, you're frustrated out of wanting more, but as each chapter progresses, more and more clues are given to us without spoiling what's really going on until the very end, like a great mystery should. I love how Zach Cregger knows exactly what to reveal and when to maintain suspense, so every time the movie tests your patience, makes you keep guessing, or starts over again, it makes each payoff even better. Since we know as little as the characters do in the moment, whenever they discover something, we experience the shock and horror right alongside them. And that's the best aspect of the horror in Weapons. It doesn't rely on jump scares or gore, and it's much more character-based. When I first heard this was an IMAX horror film, I was expecting some epic scope, over-the-top imagery, and don't get me wrong, the large canvas makes for creepy visual storytelling, especially in the climax. The cinematography uses techniques like Paul Thomas Anderson-style long takes following characters from behind like they're being watched. The camera angles such as God's eye views, Dutch angles, and low angles of feet create this uncomfortable atmosphere that's elevated by an eerie musical score from Cregger and the Holiday Brothers, but the parts that scared me most revolved around the overall drama of the character's face. One of my favorite parts is a nightmare where Josh Brolin tries chasing his son to recover him. The horror stems from the guilt he has for not being able to protect him, the regrets he's had in their relationship, and a monologue from Brolin that was so terrific, my arm tensed up like it was being weighed down. Moments like this are what make Brolin my favorite performance and character. He has this obsessive drive to find a son that anyone can identify with, and as much as he tries blaming the police for having no leads, or Garner for being the only connection, among other things, his resourcefulness in discovering the links between each missing kid more than makes up for his mistrust. If anything, he becomes more trustful towards people because, if nothing else, he needs to in order to save his son. What makes our main leads interesting is that, while their main goal is to save the kids, they all have flaws that, at times, make them completely detestable. We all know Julie Gardner's innocent of kidnapping, and her performance makes you feel the pressure people put on her for wanting answers she doesn't have and how she chooses to deal with the pain, but at the same time, she's made some vodka-related choices in her past and has stretched her authority as a teacher to the point where it's really no wonder she's the prime suspect, and even the people who know she's innocent call her out for making herself look guilty all the time. That being said, there are characters like Alden Ehrenreich or Austin Abrams who don't have enough redeeming qualities, so when we're kinda supposed to root for them, we really don't, or at least I didn't. I don't blame Ehrenreich, he's a good actor and there's at least an explanation to why he's ultimately a bad person, but I never buy him as a darker, more hypocritical character, maybe because he just looks too baby-faced or dorky to be morally gray, let alone a villain. And Austin Abrams, easily the worst character just on a moral level, and again, there's a point behind what makes him crucial, and they try making him a darkly funny character where his reasons for helping are actually pretty selfish, so you're supposed to love to hate him whenever he fails. I just didn't find the material or his dialogue funny. He's one of those guys who'd put yo or bro in every sentence, bro. The villain was honestly more likable despite being a terrifying, despicable piece of shit. Speaking of, here's a countdown in case you don't want to know who the villain is. Alright, you've been warned, but holy shit, Amy Madigan was excellent. From the minute she shows up, I tensed up in nearly every scene she was in. It definitely helps her costume design always makes her creepy to look at, but even when she's feigning ignorance and no one suspects her, she plays up this dotty, eccentric persona so well that even if she were innocent, is so off-putting you don't want to go anywhere near her, but then we see her true colors and her quiet yet confident dominance over everyone she meets and how casual she treats her rituals were beyond chilling and intimidating. The resolution of her arc also got the biggest laughs out of me because of how absurdly over the top it was, and That's all I'm gonna say. I wish I could say more about her connection to one of the classmates, but even the smallest detail would be a major spoiler. Honestly, I'm surprised I had this much to say about weapons. It's a movie where the less you know going in, the better. I saw the trailers with the sound off just so I could reenact them, which thankfully didn't ruin anything, but I wanted to let people know as best as I can that the filmmaking technique from the cinematography, the eerie musical score, great performances from Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Amy Madigan, among others, and an inherently creepy slow burn horror mystery that makes for so far the best movie I've seen all year. Definitely check out Weapons. See it on IMAX if you can, because I know I will. And with that, guys, thanks as always for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Weapons. Be sure to like and subscribe, check me out on Patreon and buy me a coffee, and I'll see you all in the next review. Take care.